Okay, here what I'm doing is I'm just adding paint into the cups. I'm not using a lot of paint. It's a small canvas, and also we use very little paint for this technique. So it's just little blobs of paint. Here I am adding pouring medium into the paint. It's almost a 1-to-1 ratio, but because I've got so little paint, I actually added more pouring medium. It also allows for a bigger quantity of paint at the end of it. Okay, so I'm just mixing up a bit more. Just make sure that when you are mixing, that you just mix it all in. It has to be properly mixed in, otherwise it won't work properly. Okay, you'll have a jelly substrate in the middle, and it'll be more runny on the outside. Once I've mixed all the paint, I'm going to start adding a little bit of water. Can you see it's all mixed? Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of water just to dilute a little slightly. The pouring medium won't get the consistency that you want, so you do have to add a little bit of water just to get it down to that final consistency where it needs to flow off the stick. It needs to flow in a continuous stream. Okay, just mixing all the water in. Just adding a little bit more. It's not runny enough. Just always make sure that you scrape the sides of your cup, scrape the stick, get all the paint together, just to make sure that it all mixes in correctly and properly. Also, you don't want any lumps or hard bits in there, so you want to get that all mixed in properly. Make sure your canvas is level. Otherwise, while your paint is drying, your paint will flow off, will run off. That white paint that I was going to use is too thick, so I've got some pre-mixed paint which I'm using. I don't add any pouring medium or any other thing to the background paint of the white, because you waste so much by pouring off. Can you see how much I'm pouring off? Sorry. Okay, and as I said, make sure that your canvas is level so that you don't lose your painting while it's drying. Okay, just getting rid of air bubbles. By tilting the paint around as well, you're also creating a nice even surface for you to work on, your background paint, especially for this, because there's a lot of paint, a lot of negative space. I'm just starting off with a couple of drops of black. At this stage I'm doing 3 puddles, so I'm going to do 3 blooms. There's no particular order for the colors that you add here. Then none of these colors are going to react with each other, so it doesn't matter what order. I could have actually just mixed up the order here as well. I decided to do an extra flower, an extra bloom, and here I do just change the order a bit slightly. In retrospect, when I look at it now after the painting, when I shouldn't have added the white in. You'll see later what I mean when you see the completed piece. I'm just adding a little bit more color. Okay. The reason that I'm just slicing into those blooms, those rounds, is I want to separate those petals, as it were, so I can focus on each individual petal, like the 4 quadrants, when I blow. You'll understand when I'm blowing. You'll see. Okay, there's what I was talking about with the white. Because of having the white in, it almost dominated the paint, but I do like those little cells that are created, especially at the end. I did work into this painting afterwards, after the video stopped, and added a few more darks, and added a bloom in the center and blew out to the edge when the paint was a bit drier. Can you see the quadrants, how each slice of that pie almost is able to be worked separately? Which is probably what I'm pointing out. Yeah, this is where the white has taken over, so I'm just adding a little bit more color to try and get some of that white, so it's not so much white in the background, but I do like the lacing, so there you can see more color coming through. In the live, somebody asked me about blowing with a straw. If you see the difference between blowing with a straw, it concentrates the air into a finer point almost. Whereas when you blow without the straw, you're able to disperse paint in a wider area. I'm just trying to get rid of some of that white here, which by adding paint, extra paint in. There were some questions on the live while I was doing this. I think I'm probably talking about the lacing. I'm trying to disperse color. Oh, somebody also asked me if you can work back into this afterwards, which you can. It's quite nice to embellish, to go back and add little darker lights. It doesn't show up very well with in the camera. I did bring it didn't work, it didn't show very well up on the camera close up, but I did take photos and I've added some on, so you can see some close-ups. You can see how I've worked back in. I've added a bloom at the bottom and in the center there, and just blown off to the side a bit. So all in all, I actually like the video. I actually like the painting, so I have kept it. Normally I wash off if I don't. All right, I hope you enjoyed it. Cheers.